That's so funny, yeah.
Yeah, yep, that was a nor'easter. I was like,
That storm was bad.
man, oh man.
Yeah, it's like much more.
What's that?
Is it party time?
We're just about, is it 7 on, it's okay, I got 1 minute on the analog. We're good. All right. Here we go. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome tonight to the Columbia Association Board Operations Committee meeting of June 6th, 2024. My name is Bill Santos. I'm the board chair. Want to just go over a couple of things here, a couple of ground rules. Board Operations Committee meeting is recorded, but we are not streaming. So this will make its way to our YouTube channel, just not immediately. Want to let everybody know a couple of ground rules. This is a committee meeting. It's not a CA board meeting, although we have a number of board members in attendance. For the record, voting members for this committee meeting are myself, Dennis Matty, the president, Colin, our vice chair, Mike, and Sky. As we're going through our agenda today, we'll go through our agenda topics log first with things that staff have populated each agenda with that we typically have to have at certain times of the year. We'll then go to the board requested items at the end. And for CA board members who are not voting members tonight, I appreciate your attendance tonight. And we welcome your input. Just everybody, general note, we'll all be respectful. This is our first meeting. You guys will all get a chance to be voting members on this committee. So we just want to make sure we're cognizant of each other's time during the year. Everybody clear on that? Anybody has any cell phones or personal devices, please silence or put them on vibrate so as to not interrupt the meeting. Now we'll go on. We will call roll. We'll start with those who are voting. Dennis? Here. Colin?
Here.
Mike?
Here.
Sky?
Here.
And as far as other CA board members, Karen?
Here.
Eric?
Here.
Ashley?
Here.
Chris? We got here, Reg. We got word that Reg may join us later. And I think that's everybody. All right. Moving on, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Colin moves.
Second.
Mike seconds. Any opposition?
I'm not in opposition, but I have one more topic to add.
To the
It's
agenda?
not on the log.
On the topics log?
Correct.
Okay, we're not approving the log, we're approving the agenda.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comment? Any opposition? Hearing.
I thought that was one of them.
Okay, all right, hearing no opposition, the agenda is approved. Yay. Let's see, approval of the minutes, that's on our consent agenda. Any discussion? Minutes have been approved. All right, moving on. Any administrative items? Mr. Matty, do we have any administrative items? Yeah. Okay. We are on to topic 6 already. Anybody needs me to slow down, let me know. June 27th, Board of Directors meeting. Everybody wants to look at our June 27th in our pockets here.
Do you want a motion for that?
Yes, let's do it that way. Motion to approve the June 27th agenda.
So moved
Second.
so that we can discuss it.
All right. Moved by Collins, seconded by Dennis.
Wait, what's the motion?
The motion is to approve the June 27th Board of Directors meeting
So that
agenda.
we can discuss it and amend it as.
No, this is to approve it or to discuss it?
Mike, we have to have a motion on the floor, so we're going to make a motion in the affirmative to approve the agenda. We have a motion and a second. So now we can discuss the agenda
Okay.
and
You're not
then
calling for a vote. I
we,
got you.
we will
Sorry.
vote after we've discussed it, all right?
Do you also want the July 25th at the same time or just one by
No,
one?
let's do them one at a time.
Okay.
See how that goes. All right, June 27th agenda. Dennis, if you could start us off and tell us the things that we should have on this agenda from a staff standpoint.
So for new business, it's the three requests from Howard Hughes,
Mhm.
2 easements and the completion of a land swap, which are based on prior agreements that CA and Howard Hughes entered into in 2015. The conservation easement is very, very straightforward. We certainly want to keep that area in conservation. The access agreement is so that we don't have to maintain it. Howard Hughes takes responsibility for maintaining improvements that are already on that site. And the land swap is a bit of land that was part of that 2015 agreement. That we got 15 acres, or 15.7 acres of open space, and we agreed to swap out 1.19.
Okay, just a quick statement and then I'll get to you, Karen. And this is new business, so we will not be voting on this at the June 27th meeting, correct?
That's correct.
Correct. Karen,
Can we make sure that the agreement that CA entered into with, is it HRD? Can we make sure that that agreement is in the packet?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Eric,
Hard question. Why weren't all the land swaps executed simultaneously when the agreement was made?
I think because there were pieces of it that there were improvements that had to be made, and that it was easier for Howard Hughes to make the improvements on the land when, in some cases, when they owned it in terms of the amenities that they're going to maintain. And honestly, some of this got left or got set aside during COVID.
okay, I think that's a great question to bring up if we keep it on the agenda for the 27th. Okay. Any other, Ashley?
So our usual schedule is the first Thursday is our working session and the second Thursday is our voting session, but with the summer is the June 27th, our working session, and the July 25th, our voting session.
That's a great question. Just to back up, at the end of the FY 24 board season, that year's board, the board voted to go to a new structure. We are no longer doing the work session, voting session any
Oh,
longer.
okay.
We're doing new business and old business in each. So we will have a discussion and a voting portion in every meeting that we have this year.
Got it. Cool.
Okay, so we will do it at both meetings.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'm clear. Thanks.
But not necessarily vote on the old business right after the meeting.
Right, and they're not, having a topic come up as new business does not guarantee that there will be a vote at the next meeting. We may have to wait to get other information before we can bring it up again as old business.
There's like a 3-meeting rule.
Okay, that's another piece. That is for policies. We have.
Not totally caught up on all things that have changed.
We're doing good. This is good stuff for everybody to know.
Great.
For policy changes or policy, instituting a policy, there was a 3-meeting rule, okay?
Yep.
If we're talking about other items like putting an easement onto voting on an easement that is already covered by an existing policy, that would have to be new business and then old business, okay? So we'll introduce it as new business in our June meeting.
Yep.
And I believe that the intent is that at our July meeting, it will show up as old business.
Yep.
And we could potentially vote on it at that meeting.
Okay.
Clear?
Clear.
Cool. Okay.
Dennis, could you turn your mic on? Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about the easement? Everybody okay with the amount of time that's allotted in this current agenda?
Are they giving a whole presentation, I guess? Like, do they really need 45 minutes
Well, it's 15 minutes
per
per,
thing? Okay.
that jives, I think, with my sensibilities. Eric?
On agenda 7, I'd recommend flip-flopping A and B.
agenda item number 7 for the June 27th meeting.
Yes, I'd recommend flip flopping A and B.
I take your comment, but I just want to make sure we nail down the easements first, okay?
Yeah, that's under old business.
Let me understand what you're saying here.
Shouldn't we have taken care of old business first before we started new business?
Okay, we started a discussion about things that need to be taken a look at, and we were just finishing up the easement part of it. We can move on to the old business in just a moment, okay? I just want to make sure we're clear. Karen, thank you for your comment. Okay. And well, then we will leave the easement portion of this as is. Moving on to Eric's comment under old business, item 7 on the June 27th agenda. A and B, item A for those following at home, follow up on the 2024 strategic plan. And B, approval of resolution appointment of president. I'm just gonna ask, does anybody have any opposition to switching those 2 items? No. Well, then we will make that. That'll be a change there. Switch B to A and A to B, please. Okay, and that takes care of all the requirements. Now we move into our topics agenda.
Before
Karen?
we do that, I had a question about the strategic plan.
Yes.
What are we gonna follow up on? I feel like this needs, it can't just be an agenda item, like we need to actually have a plan on what how are we gonna finish this plan? We're not gonna finish it in this meeting.
It moves along as old business, right? What we could do is we could, when we tabled this, we didn't table it for a specific date. So we should bring it up and we can table it again. If we wanted to table it to a specific date, then it would not appear as old business until that time. But because we did not define a time, we should probably mention it so that we keep current on
I'm not
that.
opposed to us talking about it. What I wanna know is, I feel like just talking, like, in general, we have to write a strategic plan. We wanted to wait till Sean was fully on board to work on the strategic plan, but I feel like it should be something where we talk through dates and, like, if we're gonna finish the strategic plan, when are we gonna finish it?
Okay, well then you want to reduce the time on it to like 10 minutes and we'll just talk timeline and then.
I think that would be fine.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, I think that's okay. To talk about timeline is definitely something that's good to do. But I think I would suggest we have a more robust discussion and have more substantive of what we want in the strategic plan, especially since we've got new board members that weren't a part of anything that's been developed up to this point. I think having the timeline and a bit more substantive discussion about what we want to see in it would be good.
Can I
So then-
respond?
Just a moment, Karen. To that point, what would be an appropriate amount of time that you would want to allocate for the discussion at that meeting?
I think the 30 minutes is okay.
You think 30 minutes? Okay. Karen?
So my concern with that is that there's no plan. And the board will be all over the place. And what Mike's suggesting is gonna end up being an hour or 2 discussion, and I would rather not see that. I would like us to have a timeline, a real plan in place for how we're gonna go about finishing the strategic plan. I get that we have new board members that haven't had any input, but we did just go through that whole exercise at the board retreat where we did do some considerable work on the strategic plan. So I wouldn't say that they haven't had any input. So my issue with this is that I'd rather not have us have a discussion that is just like shooting ideas across the room with no real direction. That's why a timeline about what we're gonna conquer, I think would really help.
Okay. All right. Sky?
First of all, I think Bill has a really good handle and he can keep things going and keep the flow going and bring us back on topic. Secondly, Ashley was not able to attend the exercise. And I forgot what my third point was. Karen, what would you suggest that is part of the discussion of that meeting
timeline.
besides the timeline?
I don't think we should discuss anything else. I think we should discuss a timeline for how do we want to tackle the strategic plan? What should we do? And that's where Sean will be here and can give us his input. He'll have had time to read the strategic plan and can give his insights into it instead of the board, again, just tossing things out.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Sky. Eric?
And if we really want to actually just go a step deeper than just talking timeline, one thing we could do is discuss at a very high level, just board members bring like 1, maybe 2 points at most, high level bullets of what you want to see, say, accomplished over the next 5 years. Just very high level, one sentence, this is what I want to see. And that could be a starting point for a strategic plan.
I'm just gonna, quick comment, I'm gonna try and maintain the facilitation, but I believe that you're on a good track there for a 30-minute discussion if we did timeline and 1 or 2 high level. But I'm gonna pull out of there. Colin?
Yeah, I was even thinking a little higher than what Eric was just suggesting with just bullet points, but thinking about and Karen, going back to your point about the work that we did at the retreat, like making sure that those high level themes are consistent and we have agreement on that and timeline. Those 2 conversations to me seem like that would be a 30-minute time and worthwhile, which can then help progress with the timeline.
I like this better because it's actually saying what we're gonna talk about instead of a whirlwind.
Karen, thank you. Mike?
I agree.
Okay.
This is exactly what I was suggesting.
Then I'm going to leave this on the agenda as B or as B on the agenda under old business. This one is put to bed.
Woohoo.
We currently have a little bit of extra time in this agenda for other topics. So if everybody can go to their agenda topics log here. We need to really start. Yes. Sorry, Mike, would you like, I'm sorry, Colin?
Yeah, sorry, I'll just tap you or something. I would really like us to think about adding the soliciting bids for onboarding services between the board of directors and incoming president CEO. That's lengthy. If you go to the memo from May 16th from Patrick, that was in last meeting's packet. I pretty much was submitting this based off that memo and what was suggested, that we should be requesting services with the focus on the expectations and relationship between the board of directors and the new president and CEO. And my thought being directing staff to solicit those bids and do kind of that process. So I'd like to see that on the agenda.
Okay. Thank you for the background. If you could state what that agenda item is one more time.
Soliciting bids for onboarding services between the board of directors and incoming president and CEO. It's line 45 on the
Okay,
agenda topics log.
there you go. All right, I will open it up. Karen?
I know you're disappointed that I have my hand up again, but last meeting, Dennis and Susan shared with us that Sean may not want these services. So I think we should ask Sean if that's actually something we should put on the agenda.
Can I, Susan, do you want to respond? Sorry.
No, I do think that's the point was, the question was if, I think, and if it was not clear in Patrick's memo, I know he worked together. The question, if the statement should have read, if the board and the president feel those services are needed, then that's the approach to take to solicit proposals. So I think the bigger question is if you guys think it's warranted, and it might be too soon to tell it.
Okay, Eric?
This is kind of comment. It feels a little premature. I would like to get Sean's input onto what he thinks is necessary for this.
All right, before we get too much farther down the road, you asked to put this on, you made a motion. Do we have a second?
Can I second, just to get the discussion
No.
going? Right, I have to be a voting member? Okay, sorry.
I second it.
All right, Sky seconds it. Karen, I appreciate your
And
enthusiasm.
this guy was busy drinking Coke.
All right, so the soliciting bids, number 45, that was by Colin and seconded by Sky. Thank you for that. We can continue the discussion. Anybody else have any comments? Ashley?
I agree that it makes sense to get input from Sean on if that is a service that he wants to pursue, because we would need more parameters around exactly what it is that he's looking for before we can request the bids.
Okay, well then I'm just gonna call the vote on this one so that we can move our meeting along here.
How many minutes are you putting against this?
Colin?
And, I don't even think it needs 10 because yeah.
10 minutes. Okay, so number 45, 10 minutes. Thank you for the question. That's a good question, Mike. All right, so on this item, including the soliciting bids for onboarding services, item number 45. Let's poll the board or poll the committee. Sky?
I have a question. If we pass that to 10 minutes, does that leave only 5 minutes that we can play with for that meeting?
Generally, yeah. And-
Okay.
Or, yes, if we wanted to end at 9:45, yes,
Okay. Okay,
yes. So.
so
how do
you want
vote?
my vote?
I do.
No.
No? Dennis? No? Colin?
Yes.
And Mike?
No,
Okay, I will vote no too, so that was 1, 4, 0.
I'd like to make another motion. I'd like to move that we allot 5 minutes to that topic.
Same, Sky, we just voted to not include that topic.
For 10 minutes. I thought that was part of the motion. Okay, whatever.
Just for the balance of the meeting, I'd like to keep the topic and the allotted time in one package. I don't want to have to vote again, because there may be people who just were thinking it was premature versus a time issue. Let's just keep them all in one and not bring up another one again, all right? Was I clear on that?
Yeah, I voted no on it because I felt it was necessary, but didn't need 10
Right,
minutes.
right.
Okay, go
Right.
ahead.
All right, Sky, make your motion, please.
I move that we allot 5 minutes to that topic.
Do we have a second? We don't have a second.
Okay.
All right, just, we got 7:22. Mr. Reg Avery has entered the meeting. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming in.
Full dinner tonight, Reg.
Hmm?
Full dinner tonight.
Cool,
Sandwiches and everything.
All right. Please take a moment, get yourself settled, and we'll get you up to speed here, sir. All right, do we have any other topics we would like to put on this agenda for June 27th? Mike,
I'd like to have something about the villages on there, I think.
if you could be more specific than something
Well-
about the villages.
The management contracts, funding, all of that, that's coming up.
The village management contract.
Is it similar to item number 44 on the agenda topic log?
Here.
Yes, so,
Okay.
yeah, so item 44 on the agenda topic log.
So Mike has moved for item 44, and I will read that aloud. Defining a strategic relationship and enhancing equity within village associations.
Are those the same thing as what Michael was proposing?
Yes,
That's, that, Mike just said
Because he
that,
said contracts, that's why I'm asking.
Mike,
yes, it's the same.
Mike just said, item 44 is what he wanted, so.
Okay,
We read that aloud. Do I have a second for that item?
Second.
Colin seconds, okay. I saw Eric's hand up.
Yeah, so the question I have is what's the final output of that, of this agenda item? What's the final motion that this would produce? What's the final product of this?
I don't know that I don't know that I can
Like,
predict
what would we
that,
vote on?
right? I think what I would like to see is probably some sort of presentation, make sure we're all on the same page of how we currently do the relationship with the villages. And then I think there is a discussion of whether or not that is the right way to move forward, right? Is the status quo something we want to maintain, or do we want to have an adjustment to the way we're doing that high level relationship?
Karen, I will get to you in just a second. Thank you, Mike, for that statement. I don't want to take any wins out of your sail, but I need to know, item 44, how many minutes would you like to allot for this discussion?
I think that's probably gonna take 30 minutes or so.
30 minutes, and that would put us at an adjournment time at 10:15, 10:15. Just so everybody's clear on that. Okay, that would be under new business.
Mhm.
Okay, Karen,
Does that require a lot of work by staff, and can they be ready to present what Mike is looking for by that meeting?
that is a valid question.
Would you like to
Susan?
comment? So if the material that, from which you would start is what the, relationship is now, I think that's not a problem.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the answer. Ashley?
When is the next time the formula for the assessments in the villages gets reevaluated, and is that a part of this?
Dennis?
So that's really up to, I guess we'd like the villages to weigh in on that. CA as an organization and staff doesn't have a opinion on that per se. If the village managers come up with a different formula that they all agree to, then that's really, we have, the board has set aside a number, 3 million, let's say, just to make it easy. And the villages, in conjunction with CA staff, came up with a prior formula, which CA staff are okay with moving forward with. If the villages want something different, then they would.
Oh, so there's no set schedule, like we have a 5-year strategic
Well,
plan,
we are,
things like that?
in the process of creating that. I think Jadel has already scheduled a meeting just to begin that process.
Okay,
Okay.
but it's the villages that come together and create something and propose it to CA.
That's the goal.
Got
Okay,
it.
all
Okay.
right. We're getting a little conversational, but thank you both for your input. One quick comment, this item is defining a strategic relationship and enhancing equity. The management contract would be part of that. I would imagine it's a big piece of it, but it's bigger than just the contract. So Eric?
So the follow-up on Ashley's question, when does CA actually discuss the total funding for the villages? Because I don't recall this actually coming up for discussion.
It was in the budget process.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that the grants that are provided to the villages are part of our budget discussion. And we certainly could make that a focus for this year's budget discussion, which we'll have to talk about in our July meeting, but yes.
So I've never actually seen the topic come up in the budget discussions.
Thank you for your comment. All right, anybody else? All right, well then, I suppose we will call the question, just to make sure we got this straight. Adding the agenda item to our June 27th meeting, defining a strategic relationship and enhancing equity with village associations for a time of 30 minutes under new business. We'll start at this end. Mike,
Yes.
Colin,
Yes.
Yes.
Guy.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
So that means we're ending the meeting at 10:15 and no other topics can be added to the agenda for that meeting.
that's what we're here for. Yeah. Well, we haven't entertained any other agenda topics, but currently, yes.
No,
No, I will vote yes. So that's 4 yes, 1 no, 0 abstentions. Okay. Sky, we're currently ending the meeting on the 27th at 10:15. That is our scheduled agenda. Are there any other topics that we may want to put onto this agenda?
yes, I have 3 other things. Number 1, after action reviews, which I had first brought up in March. Number 2, having monthly town hall meetings, which might be more operational. And number 3, just clarification of the donation process. How much we have set aside for donations this year, so everybody has the same understanding. And that could be informational only and very short.
When you say donations, do you mean grants or?
I think I mean donations, but we do have a grant policy of some sort. Let me find it.
All right, and just so that we're tracking on our agenda topics log, after action reviews was item number 41. Town hall meetings was item number 42. And I don't see the donation policy. That would be item number 46 if we were to do that.
Ashley,
Did you want these all three discussed as a block, or did you want to discuss these topics?
separately is fine.
Okay, well, let's try this one at a time really quick. We're about halfway through our meeting here, so let's see what we can do. I want to give it its appropriate amount of time, but let's work. I need a motion regarding after action reviews.
I move to add after action reviews to the agenda in June.
Okay, for my records, that would be under new business,
Yes.
and the time that you would like to allot for that?
I don't have any experience in estimating time.
I would need a
10
time.
minutes.
10 minutes, okay.
And that would be not to complete the after action reviews, but to determine whether or not we should be doing them.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Dennis seconds, okay. Discussion. Scott?
I think after action reviews are important. We've done several things this year. We've hired a CEO. We've worked on the strategic plan. We had some board training, and a couple of other topics. Some of them have been more successful than others. And I think it's important to do an after action review. It consists of 3 steps. Number 1, what did you do? What did you accomplish? Number 2, what did you do right? How were we successful in what steps and what parts of that topic? And number 3, if we were to do it again, how could we improve it and come up with a better solution or a quicker solution?
All right, Mr. Avery, welcome to the meeting.
Thank you very much. Just a quick question, Scott. Are you going to also include a corrective action plan? I would suggest maybe that be something that you'd want to consider. Just a thought.
I don't have much experience with that, so.
All right, Eric?
So this is just, the motion was just to decide whether or not to do it or not. The question I have is, does this actually require a board vote, or could we just do it as an organization? Does this actually require board action to do?
Dennis?
If it requires a significant allocation of staff resources, then I would suggest that you vote on it and decide if it's important.
And I would add that I think that some of this may be part of the uptake of the audit folks, if they wanted to do a review of the major things we did in FY24. The question I would have is, would this after action report focus on board actions related to these items, or would it be the board and staff? Eric?
So in that case, would it make more sense to put this on the audit committee agenda versus the board agenda?
I would recommend that we allow audit to at least take a first look at it. And if the actions of that are not satisfactory to the board, it can be brought up at the next board ops meeting.
So if that were the case, then I would recommend postponing this until the audit committee got a chance to look at it.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that input. All right. Ashley?
Yeah, so it sounds like there's a clear format in mind for it, but my question really is, what is the content? Like, is there a specific list of actions that would be reviewed for this, that we'd be coming into the meeting for?
I think Reg and maybe Mike have more recent experience with AARs than I do. I'm just used to doing them after every program or every project or every topic, and it could be a very, very short discussion if everybody agrees. And as far as corrective action, I guess that would depend on the results of the AAR. If there were a lot of mistakes made or a lot of things to improve the next time you did it.
I will say this, that we don't hire presidents and we do strategic plans every 5 years. So kind of taking a look at how well those two were conducted is probably helpful for the next time that either of those infrequent processes are done. So
Sure.
it could be dusted off and say, here were the lessons learned the last time. That would be helpful, I think.
So you've got at least two
So-
good actions that would go under the action
So,
review.
um,
That was the primary concern I had.
All right, so a 10-minute discussion under new business on this topic or postpone it and defer to the audit committee.
That sounds like two separate votes.
Yeah, so we have a vote for the, well, I think it really relies on Sky. If she wants to withdraw it, then we could withdraw it, or we could have the vote.
Reg, did you have something to say?
No. no.
Okay.
Okay, Karen?
I think somebody has to make a motion. Eric is not a voter. I'm not a voter. Somebody has to make a motion on whether or not you want to postpone it, because Sky has put a motion forward that she
Right.
wants to add this. And you've got a second in discussion, so you either have to vote on hers or you have to, somebody's gonna have to put an amendment out there to postpone.
Thank you, Sky.
I'm convinced that it could start with the audit committee rather than the board.
Would you like to make a motion to postpone until the audit committee looks at it?
Isn't there already a motion on the floor?
There's a motion to put it on the agenda. There's no motion to postpone.
Right.
You need to revise your motion.
And somebody has seconded that motion? Dennis did. So we have to vote on that or make an
Or you
amendment?
can withdraw.
You can reword your motion if you want to.
I'm sorry.
Or just withdraw. You could do that too.
You can withdraw.
Or you can reword it.
Um, I don't know how to do it, but I would like it to go to the audit committee first and have them make a decision whether or not to send it to the board. How could I amend the motion to reflect that?
Maybe just withdraw just withdraw the motion. And I think the sense I'm getting from Eric, Reg, and Karen is that the three members of the audit committee here sound like they want to take it up, right? So, I mean, I kind of
Okay.
just trust them.
I withdraw my motion if I can.
Motion is withdrawn. Okay. All right, glasses. Town halls. Do we have a motion regarding town halls?
What number are you on?
Number 42. Motion as listed in the topics log, town hall meetings. I need a motion and then I'll get right to you,
I
Karen.
can't make a motion.
I move that we put town hall meetings on the agenda
Under new business
under new business
for how many minutes?
for 10 minutes.
Okay,
Thank you, Bill.
thank you. Do we
You
have a
put the
second?
words right in my mouth.
I'll second it.
Colin seconds. Okay, Karen.
Thank you. So I am a fan of town halls. I think that they're a good idea. I would just like Sky to elaborate a little bit on what she thinks these town halls would be, because I think, for instance, when CA is doing something huge, we should have a town hall. We should reach out to the public as much as possible, invite people in to ask questions, that kind of stuff. But what are you thinking?
I was thinking, and again, it may be more operational than a board issue. I was thinking of a different topic every month, and I have a bunch of topics listed. They could change the venue from village to village. It would be separate from a board meeting. It would be a venue where the residents could come and make comments, make complaints, give ideas, do brainstorming. There would not necessarily be any action out of a specific town hall meeting. I had mentioned this earlier in the year, and the staff took the idea and came up with each town hall would cost $25,000. And I didn't mean for a professional moderator to come in. I just felt that, hey, it could be one of us, it could be Danica, it could be the new CEO that moderates the town hall meeting. So basically, I wanted the residents to know that we are listening to them on this topic this month, on another topic the next month, another. And I realize we do quarterly meetings, but if something happens that irregular, that rarely, people don't remember that it's a viable event.
Okay, I have Sky, I have Colin, Dennis, and then Ashley, and then we'll see how we go after the round there. Colin.
I'm a big fan of community conversations and big fan of this idea. My pause is, first off, I think that there was, I'm trying to remember the name of it and it's escaping me. Robin and Danica, they put on an amazing series that I think is very similar in nature to what you're talking about, Sky. Thank you. Change in Columbia. It was going to come eventually. It was just going to be at 11:59. But I think that was a great series. And I feel like this is really operational and I just don't want to get too down the rabbit hole of being in operations.
Thank you, Dennis.
I would recommend that we let the communications and marketing team look at this because town halls may in fact might not be the best way to engage residents. And so if we do more engagement, absolutely, but is the best way, because not everyone's going to be available at that certain time. What is the best way to do it? Let staff look at it and then come back with a recommendation rather than just decide to do town halls without considering what that might mean.
Okay, Ashley.
I have an opinion and a question. So I agree, like consistency is definitely key for community members to expect something and to start to become aware of it and for the word of mouth to grow and people to gain interest in it regardless of what the topic is. And we're a city of 100,000 people, so there's definitely going to be a wide range of topics that people will be interested in sharing their opinion on. And then my second part, my question is, in your 50 years here, have we had a town hall sort of thing? Yes. What location was it? What format was it held in? What was the purpose? Were we receiving comments? Was it like take and pass a microphone around and it was CA staff that was presenting information? Because we have lots of information sessions that CA is also offering.
It was something like that, but then that was probably now, I'm thinking 10 years ago. And a lot has changed in the world in 10 years in
Sure.
technology. So I'm just not sure that that is the exact right way to reach out to people.
Okay, we've got another round of hands. Just to let you guys know, we're going a little long. I'm okay with a little long, but just keep note of the time. Eric, then Colin, then Mike.
So the River Hill has actually had town hall meetings in the past and they've been actually very successful. I'm just wondering if this is the type of thing that might be better for the villages to do.
Okay,
I'll withdraw from the queue.
Mike.
I just think we're getting way off the topic of whether we have this on the agenda.
Yeah.
We're like having the conversation. Instead of-
That's an important point. Reg.
So I agree with you, but I think the idea of having a town hall is a great idea. I like the idea of having the staff look at it and giving us a recommendation, make sure that we're getting the biggest bang for our buck. But I certainly support having town halls. It's one of the great ways of communicating with the community, with the villages. They'll be excited to come to a town hall.
All right, if I can just put a quick button on this and then I'll get you, Colin. If we had a 10-minute discussion so we could provide some input to staff on town halls at our June meeting, that might be beneficial. Colin.
I was going to call the question.
Colin's calling the question. So, all right, which way do we go? All right, we're gonna go Dennis.
No.
Dennis is a no. Colin.
No.
No,
No.
no, Sky,
What is the motion we're voting on?
a 10-minute discussion on town halls under new business at our June 27th meeting.
Yes.
Yes, and I will say yes too. So that's 3-2, it fails. No abstention.
2-3.
I'm sorry, 2-3. Thank you. I'm gonna keep me honest on that, guys, because I'm gonna mess that up for the whole year. I promise you that. All right. Got one more and then I'm gonna open it up to other people here really quick. The donation program, which I believe was the what do we call that? This was the program that we had with the Community Foundation of Howard County, the grant. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well then please,
I'm
in
not-
your words.
Okay. I have the donation policy here that was written in 1987. And the community grant policy which my copy doesn't have a date on it. I think the least I would want would be a 5-minute informational session by the staff as to what these two are. I know this past year we voted on $80,000 to the Vietnam Memorial. And we turned down at least one other donation request. And what my village does is we set aside a certain number of dollars each year to dole out as the requests come in. We look at the requests on a quarterly basis, but so I'm just not sure that we all understand what the policy is.
Okay. Just, I want to parrot that back to make sure I understand the motion. You would like a 5-minute discussion at our June 27th meeting on the donation and grant policy. Is that correct?
Not a 5-minute discussion, but a 5-minute informational session by the staff.
Okay. All right. I got Karen, then Dennis.
Did you get a second on that motion?
I'm sorry. Do we have a second?
Second.
Colin seconds. Karen.
I feel like this is something that, do you want, I mean, the reason it's coming to a board meeting is because you want everyone to hear the policy to understand how it works, or just the board? Because I feel like this is something that we could just submit a question and staff could answer.
Sky.
I think all the board members need to know what our donation policy is and whether or not we can or have in the recent past acted on individual donation requests or gone through the foundation.
Okay, Dennis.
I agree with Karen, and I'd
Thank
also
you.
say that there's no way that discussion, if we had it, would take 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. Ashley.
Can I suggest the possibility of us doing that in July, where we're talking more about financials? And I'm sure that's another thing that's changed, is what our grant policy is going to be. And I know we'll have multiple organizations that are going to come to us and want to apply for grants, and there will be confusion over that. So having it on public record is definitely useful in terms of the organizations that are interested in getting money from Columbia Association. And also just having that as a blanket statement from CA staff, as opposed to it being a deliberation amongst board members, I think is also another helpful facet of it.
Thank you, Karen.
Is this policy under review with John? Has he seen this one yet?
That's not known. We're just discussing time to put on the agenda, so.
No, I'm just curious if this is one of the policies that's gonna be updated, and so.
It's unknown.
I believe so. I think I got both of these from Caroline. Can't remember.
Yeah, it's in general, he's reviewing. all
Yeah, I know. That's why I was
policies.
just wondering if Dennis.
Whether it's
gotten an
the top
update.
of the pile, I'm not sure. So, all right. But then I guess, are you gonna call the question?
Sure, call the question.
All right, Colin,
No.
Mike,
No.
Sky.
I'm voting no to put it on the June agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Dennis? No, and me, no. So that's 5 no's. All right. So that's 0-5, right? I'm learning. There we go. Are there any other topics that we want to put on the June 27th agenda? I'll open it up to the rest of the meeting. Fantastic. June 27th is in the bag. You're halfway there. Heading around the corner.
Like another, like, as
Oh,
amended,
we have to vote. Let's vote on that. Yeah.
so moved.
Colin has moved to June 27th as amended,
As amended, thank you.
seconded by Mike. Sky?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's unanimous. So 5-0. Oh. 5-0.
5-0.
Making my life good. Thank you, guys. All right, July 25th, and I will stay up front. I'm gonna confuse June 27th and July 25th at least twice. Dennis, things that we have to discuss.
Wait,
Oh,
I
we need a
moved-
motion
I'm so moved.
and second,
I second it.
Sky seconds. Okay. Any objection? Unanimous. So now we go to discussion. Dennis.
So the easements and land transfers should be back on the agenda as well as the financials. It's not too early to begin that discussion.
So it'll be budget schedule, part B there?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, any concerns about staff items on the 25th agenda? Very good. Are there any additional topics that anybody would like to put on? Michael?
I think we need to add to old business, both another discussion about the strategic plan, because I think we're gonna have to whatever the timeline we come up with at the June meeting, I'm sure it's gonna call for some discussions at subsequent meetings. So I think we should probably go to put that on there for 15 minutes. And then I guess I'll hold off on my other one.
Second.
So strategic plan,
It's just a placeholder, like we'll fill in the details, I think, when
Second.
Colin seconded.
But I appreciate your second too.
So this is a placeholder.
Yeah.
yeah,
The
'cause
old
we're gonna be
business-
talking about the timeline at the next meeting, and that timeline will fill in the details on what the real topic.
And the amount of time you would like to put at that?
Put 15 minutes, but it's gonna be dependent on whatever else is on the agenda. I'm sure
15
it's-
minutes.
It's gonna go longer than that. Put 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, Colin has
I will-
seconded all that.
Yes.
Karen?
I have a question about new business. Are we on, can I talk about that yet?
We were kind of talking about this motion that's on the table, but
Sorry, I'll wait.
okay. Anyone else have anything to say about adding a strategic plan to old business?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Well, if we don't have anything else, let's vote on that.
Yes.
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 And I'll say yes, so 5-0. Adding 20 minutes, so that puts us at 9:50. Okay, Karen, you had a question about new business?
Yeah, is the letter A under 8, is that a discussion? We're not gonna vote on that, right?
Correct, we won't be able to vote on that.
Thank you. That is what I cared about. Thank you.
Okay. Wow, okay,
Sorry.
just so that I got this, so we're almost an hour in. Do you guys have motions or do you guys want to talk about something?
I have a motion.
Okay, did you have a motion?
Well, I can't make a motion, but I would like to see a discussion of our compensation policy, which is about 10 years out of
Okay,
date.
we will get to that, and,
I just had a question.
okay, let's.
You can do Mike first.
Okay, let's do. Mike, you have a motion.
Yeah, basically the same thing I just did. I think we're gonna, the stuff that was on new business for June 27th about villages, I think we need to put that under old business and have a
Doesn't that
proper
al-
discussion there.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but doesn't that automatically happen now? Like we did new business, old business, so like whatever we talked about in the previous meeting automatically now goes on to the next agenda. Does he have to make a motion and we actually had to vote on that? We
Okay.
may.
Karen, I take your point. We haven't as of yet added it and we didn't make a policy on that, so I'm just gonna take it. We're gonna do this really quick. Okay.
No, that's fine. I was
Yeah.
thinking that if since we went to that new business, old business format, I thought that anything that was new business would then just land as old business on the next agenda.
Okay. All right. I'll just use my board chair hammer and say, yes, we'll do that. Done.
Okay,
How much time are we gonna use for that?
half an hour.
Half an hour, so 30 minutes. Okay. So villages. 30 minutes. Colin?
Yeah, and Dennis, the 8C, the report from the Inner Arbor Trust, is that just CA staff presenting or is someone from the Inner Arbor Trust coming?
Staff doesn't present the Inner Arbor report, so if you'd like to have someone come, I can ask Nina to attend.
So Nina had said that she may want me to give the report. That we'll talk about.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, okay. I had one thing that I wanted to put on the 27th agenda. Or the 25th agenda, told you guys. I would like to put on the agenda under new business, board goals for this fiscal year. And a 15-minute discussion of that. we're doing president's goals, I think we ought to discuss board goals. So I'm gonna make that motion.
Second.
Colin seconds it. Any discussion?
I guess I'll just say that that doesn't sound much different than I don't get how that would be different than the agenda topics log, but we can find out during the discussion, I guess.
Okay, all right, so new business, 15 minutes.
I have a comment.
Yes, yes, Sky?
Would this, would there be anything in the board packet about this and who would moderate the discussion?
Well, it would be a discussion of what the board would like to accomplish in between July and May. So the board would lead that. I guess I would lead it, or we could appoint someone.
Kind of like a mini strategic plan?
Well, strategic plan would be 5 years. This would be like a work plan for the year. What would we like to see done by the end of the year that the board would do? What work the board should accomplish in this year? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'd kind of like to see one from the past so that I could get a better idea. I've never
Okay, Karen?
done that.
Isn't that what this meeting is about?
I
feel
think
like
you
you're
and
gonna
Mike
do
are
away
on
with this
the
meeting?
same page there. It's, this meeting is about the next 2 months. This would
Great.
be kind of a medium term.
So
I haven't even finished my sentence
I know, I have a
yet.
follow-up question. Go ahead, finish.
Okay, all right. This is more of a medium term plan rather than the immediate quarter for the board ops committee. This is not a strategic plan. This is what do we want to have accomplished by the time we get to April 30th. Karen, do you have a question?
Yes, I sure do. So when you first started talking, you said we should put a 10-minute discussion on there. I think you said 10 minutes. And we'll talk about what we want to accomplish in May and June. That's why I have my follow-up question. So I'm not quite sure. Like, why can't we use the board operations committee meeting to come up with board goals? It seems like you've got all the agenda topics, you've got everything you need. Like, what lofty goals do you have for the board, Bill, that you would like us to accomplish?
I wanted to discuss if we had any lofty goals. That was more the question. Like I said, I believe that the board ops committee meetings are shorter term. It's 3 months at a time. This would be, what do we want to do by the end of our term? That's all. If folks think that, and I'll get to Colin, if folks think that this meeting does that, then we can vote that way and we'll just move on. It's okay. Yes, Colin.
Sorry, the turbulence is throwing me off right now, but I like this idea, and what I'm wondering is if, Bill, you could come with something so that we have a starting point of discussion for the board, so that we have a place to go and then have a conversation based off of that, if that makes sense, so that we can see what board goals we would have for this year and then go off of that, instead of just having a open conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you'd like a little structure to work from.
Yes.
I appreciate that. I could put something together by our next board meeting and just have something that people can work from. Sky?
Yeah, what comes to my mind is the president's goals and objectives from last year, which I thought were really good.
Right.
And we could do the same thing except at the level of the board rather than of the CEO.
I don't disagree. So, thank you for the comment. We're gonna keep this moving. Eric?
Shouldn't the goals just be the same? Shouldn't the president's goals and the board goals be one and the same? The president's on the board. Shouldn't we have sort of a collective set of goals and combine the two topics into a single?
I just want to make sure I understand this. You're saying rather than 15 minutes, we should spend 5 minutes on this and
No, it's just
you want to
make it
combine
a
them?
single topic.
Interesting
goals.
idea. Would the committee be up to amending this to the president's and board's goals?
No,
No? Okay. Thank you though, Eric. Valiant try. Sky, you had a
Trying to make things
question?
more efficient.
I appreciate it. Sky?
no.
No? All right, then we will call the question.
What are we voting on again? Could you?
Board goals, new business, July 25th meeting, 15-minute discussion. Mike?
No.
No. Colin?
Yes.
Dennis? Sky?
calling me last.
You are.
Or the-
I gave you all the runway.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be, I'll go yes, so it's 4-1-0. Got that one right, yes. Okay, so we will add that. Eric asked for the compensation study to be put on this.
The compensation study and compensation policy. So our
Okay.
current compensation policy, if you look in our archives, is dated
Yes.
back to 2011. We haven't
Icon.
had a compensation analysis in probably about a decade. I think it's about time that the board relook at our compensation policy and whether we need another organization-wide compensation analysis. So this would require probably about 20 minutes or so of discussion.
Okay, thank you for that. Do we have a motion from the committee? Well, Dennis is gonna second it, but
Yeah, I'll
you
second.
want to make you will make the motion?
Sure.
Colin makes the motion to discuss the compensation policy and determine if we need to do a study. Dennis has seconded that.
No, I didn't.
Oh.
I'm not seconding it.
You're not seconding it. I'm sorry.
Purposely not.
I
That's okay.
apologize. That's so good for the whole first hour. Only screwed up every 3 minutes, so Colin has made the motion.
Someone should second it so it at least gets discussed.
I'll second it.
Sky seconds. All right. Dennis, then Sky, and then Eric. I think you'll probably want to jump in after that. So
My recommendation is that we sunset the policy. The compensation policy is really staff. The board sets the compensation for the president and the board sets the overall financial goals for the organization, which includes the salary line. How we get to how we compensate individual employees is up to staff. And when we need another compensation study is something that should be driven by staff. I would say that this becomes a slippery slope because then at what point do you say, well, you know what are lifeguards making? Maybe we should pay them 30 cents more. Now, where do you stop? I think the point is you set the compensation for the president. You set the financial goals for the organization, which includes the overall salaries number, but staff takes care of compensation.
thank you, Dennis. Sky was next, and then Eric will get right to you. Okay.
Great minds think alike. You took the words out of my mouth, Dennis. I think it should be staff initiated and maybe board approved rather than board initiated.
All right, thank you, Eric.
So that would be part of the policy. So you have to have a policy that states that.
Right.
Right now, our policy is 13 years old. And it doesn't specifically state that. As far as Dennis's comment that the board sets the overall compensation, I'm not aware that the board's actually ever set the overall compensation. I don't recall having a discussion on the overall compensation numbers, nor do I recall having a vote on bonuses. So I think if we're gonna set a policy and we're gonna have a compensation policy, it's something that we do need to discuss as a board.
Thank you, Eric. Dennis.
So the board voted to approve the budget, which includes, among other things, the salaries line. So whether or not you discussed it is at your prerogative, but it is absolutely in the budget and the board voted on it. It wasn't discussed, but that is absolutely at your prerogative. Whether or not, again, I don't believe if there were bonuses or retention incentives, which there are retention incentives, I think that's a staff-driven decision based on what we know about the market and what's best for the organization.
Okay, Michael.
I would like at some point to have a better understanding of something related, which is what is CA's retention policy, which would be comprehensive, like compensation would be one aspect of that. I would like to know how we're managing human resources in that sense. And that's like one of the questions I asked in the tracker. But so I think that's kind of related, but I think that's much broader than what you're getting at, right, Eric?
Yeah, I'm a little bit narrower than that. I think you're a little bit broader.
Okay.
But I find it problematic that the compensation for the organization is staff driven, since the staff are compensated by the organization. It seems more like a self-licking ice cream cone, as we like to say.
Well,
It's the job of the board to provide oversight.
right,
And I think that's one of our critical roles of providing oversight is to be looking at the high 50,000 foot level. what the compensation guidelines should be.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about getting into individual salaries or individual positions, just the high 50,000 foot level.
All right, let's be deep breaths. Karen?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Eric. I do think it's important and I agree also. We don't want to get into the weeds. We don't want to determine, Dennis, how much you want to pay your lifeguards, but we should look and see, how are we doing in our peer class? You know, are we fairly compensating people? Are we top heavy? You know, what's going on with our compensation? Is there some, I don't see that there's anything wrong with the board having this oversight. That's all I'm
Well,
saying.
Lessons learned from the last agenda that we were working on, we're getting into territory where we start discussing the topic that we're gonna put on the agenda rather than talking about whether or not it should be on the agenda. Just trying to.
No,
make
no, I
sure we're
know
doing
that.
Right.
My follow-up to that would be then, it seems like if we were discussing it here, then it should be on the agenda.
Okay. Thank you for your point, Karen. Colin?
I think I'd like to withdraw my motion for this.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. That is your prerogative.
yes.
All right, so that motion is withdrawn. All right, is there any other topics that we wanted to put on the 25th agenda? I think we're getting close to 11 o'clock already.
I was just gonna give you
Susan.
that time check. It's 10:35 as
Yeah.
written.
Yeah, so thank you, Susan. All right, no, 10:35, if you add up all the time.
Not right now. It may feel like it.
Everybody looked at their watches and their phones.
Not on the Azores or anything like that, so. All right.
I know that Sean said his flight, he had to leave by 8, and I'm
Yeah.
like, didn't he just leave?
All right. Okay, then, hearing no other topics, gonna call the question on the July 25th agenda as amended.
Yes.
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 Yes, that's a 5-0. All right. Having no other business on the agenda, I just wanted to take an extra minute here for everybody. This is Dennis's last meeting ever.
Oh, Dennis, I'm so
The crocodile tears.
After the last hour and a half, he may be running and cheering as he goes out into the parking lot.
Those are tears of joy.
Right, it's mixed emotion, joy and happiness.
But I just, a quick moment, I'd like to say, 50 years working anywhere in this time and day is rare. And, thank you for every one of those 50 days and those 50 years.
Thanks for checking my pool pass when I was a little kid.
There you go.
I thought you were gonna say thanks for hiring me.
Is that right? Just as I've looked over your career and at least my interaction with your career, up until 2000, you were building a skill set. And then after that, you have just, in the last 25 years, filled big shoes. Getting into Chick Rodhammel's spot and taking that group and making it better and excelling. And then, you know, what we've dealt with in the last couple of years here, it wasn't only becoming president, it was also, you know, not only Lakey, but it was Maggie Brown, it was Pat Kennedy. Big shoes. You've been a big shoe filler and you've excelled all the way, absolutely to the very end here. So just my deepest thanks from me and anybody else who served with you. And I can't even do that justice. And the only way I could really finish this off is to shut up and give you a moment to say something.
So what I would say, absolutely, this has been a remarkable journey for me. I can't imagine that I would work anywhere else. I couldn't imagine when I started that I would end up where I am today. But this is just such a, you know, I won the location lottery and the job lottery in life. Right? I'm in the United States, in Maryland and Howard County, in Columbia, working for the Columbia Association. And all we are in business to do is to improve the community. That's all we do, right? And we do that every day in so many different ways. And what a great organization to work for. I mean, I'm sure it's great to work for GM, but they're worried about the next quarter, the financials. We're worried about how many residents do we engage with. You know, what are we doing to make Columbia better? So I've had, and I can look back and I can picture every building and most of the programs and have been able to say that I've been part of that. And it really has been extraordinary. And there were some big shoes. And, I think about the people that like Pat Kennedy. I looked in his Rolodex one day, he had Robert JFK, or not Robert JFK, he had Robert Kennedy's phone number in his Rolodex. And Maggie and Milton and others, it's been a great journey for me. And and I also recognize it's time to let somebody else to move that forward and start moving that in maybe in a different direction. But we have so much here. And I keep saying, we are the definition of first world problems, right? But the pathway doesn't get cleaned in an hour. That is a huge problem for us. But we have all the pathways, we have all the pools, we have the programs, the art center, the teen center, the golf courses, the ice rink. We have so many amenities, and and people that work here. I think about the people in the field. Liz Hensey at the art center. She loves the people. She loves art. She loves the people that she works with, and she is fully engaged and fully committed. The guys on the mowers that are handing out dog biscuits to people they see on pathways every day. They see the same people, so they have dog treats. That's that little bit extra. We are at the center, and Howard County government does a great job. But we are at the center of why Columbia is the much recognized and much awarded. What makes Columbia different? We do. Right? We add value in so many ways. And I will stop and say thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Any opposition? Julia has something.
I also just wanted to recognize Janet. She was gonna stay tonight, but she decided to go home, and we're hoping I can at least show her this recording and recognize her for her 18 years of service, and her last day is coming up soon too. So I just wanted to recognize her, since
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to be sitting here right now if it wasn't for her. So thank you.
Hey, Janet.
Last day. When's your
When is the last day?
All right. So one last thing from Dennis.
So I'd say one last thing. So the smartest thing I did when I became interim president was to bring Janet back, because she made such a difference in orchestrating, running that office. I can't imagine how it would have gotten done if I hadn't been able to bring her back in. So thank you, Janet.
I remember when Janet was getting hired under Maggie, and she's the only person I know that can actually write shorthand. Like, it's amazing. Janet's great.
Okay, we had a motion. Hearing any opposition, we are adjourned. Thank you.